do you acknowledge that your department has made some mistakes, any mistakes, in going after either American citizens or legal immigrants here in the time that you've been in office?
We have not deported any U.S. citizens
Detained?
or people get interviewed. If they get interviewed and they go through that process and we find that they're U.S. citizens or legal immigrants, they stay in the United States.
Have you deported
We have to go
any
through the vetting process.
Have any American citizens, including children, been deported during your time in office?
We have children that mothers have chosen to keep with them. So those
By my count, you have 10 American citizens, including children with cancer, who...
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to America First, the channel where we put our nation and our citizens ahead of everything else. If you're new here, make sure you hit that like button right now and subscribe to stay up to date with all the latest analysis on what's really happening in our government. And hey, if you want to support real patriotic content that's not afraid to tell the truth, head over to patreon.com/AmericaFirst, where you can support our channel for as low as $5 a month. Today, we're breaking down this absolutely infuriating exchange between Representative Elissa Slotkin from Michigan and Secretary Kristi Noem about deportations. And let me tell you folks, this video perfectly encapsulates everything that's wrong with the swamp creatures in Washington who are trying to undermine President Trump's mandate to secure our border and put America first.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you for being here. You know, Michigan's a border state, so we need each other. We have a very big bridge that's being inaugurated, ribbon cut in September. We need that to be fully staffed. We have a lot going on in Michigan as a northern border state, so we need each other. But what I'm concerned about is that you've taken the mandate to close off the border beyond going after, as you say, the, quote, most dangerous illegal immigrants. I'm a CIA officer. I worked my entire life to protect the homeland. If someone's here illegally, they need to not be here. They've committed a crime by being here. They need to go back to wherever they're from. But my concern is that either through sloppiness or intent, you have gone far beyond going after the, quote, most dangerous illegal immigrants and gone into legal immigrants who were given the ability to be here, and even American citizens. And when I think about that, you know, there are lots of people in this country, including me, who have families who fled this kind of environment where they have no rights, where they have no due process, where they don't have habeas corpus. So while I'll be the first to say, coming from a state that was won by Trump, that there is a mandate to do something about the border, I think it is absolute dangerous overreach to go beyond that and start picking up American citizens and people who have the legal right to be here, lawful immigrants who have done everything right. So first and foremost, do you acknowledge that your department has made some mistakes, any mistakes, in going after either American citizens or legal immigrants here in the time that you've been in office?
We have not deported any U.S. citizens
detained
or people get interviewed. If they get interviewed and they go through that process and we find that they're U.S. citizens or legal immigrants, they stay in the United States.
Have you deported
We have to go through the vetting process.
Have any American citizens, including children, been deported during your time in office?
We have children that mothers have chosen to keep with them. So those
By my count, you have 10 American citizens, including children with cancer, who have been deported out of the country. I understand you're saying it's their choice.
But it's hard to imagine
a small child having a choice. But have you gone after legal immigrants? Again, your standard in your opening statement was the most dangerous illegal immigrants. Does that include PhD students and master's students at colleges across the country, unarmed? Are they the most dangerous illegal when they have status and no weapons?
I don't decide who gets status through a student program. The Department of State decides that, and we enforce it.
Oh, come on.
That's what our Department of Homeland Security does.
I just would offer that, again, I have no qualms with going after folks who are here illegally. That is not my concern. That was part of my job, was to prevent people from coming here illegally in a former life. My concern is you're sending a chill down the spine of America by going after people who either have legal status or American citizens. And when my colleagues ask you about habeas corpus, and you say, literally, we can review the tape, that you believe it's a right the president has. You sat here in front of all of us and swore an oath to the Constitution, and that is not at all what habeas corpus is. It is a right that we all get, that American citizens get, that people who are in the United States legally have. So my concern is it's complete overreach. I don't think American citizens, even those who voted for Trump, believe that you should be able to just grab someone off the street, sloppy, who has the legal right to be here, and certainly an American citizen. And I just am concerned that while you say you're going after the most dangerous folks, what you're actually doing is going after folks for political reasons, right? A PhD student that's unarmed is not at the top of the list.
And we're not deporting U.S. citizens, and we're not deporting people who have legal status here.
10 American citizens
If the children have gone with their parents, it's because their parents wanted them with them. So let me ask you another question
about cybersecurity. You know, you've cut $500 million from the budget. What specific programs are you cutting? Because there are programs that really aid states and locals that we depend on for cybersecurity. And we know that right now, while we may have good security in the federal government, if you are a local state official, you're depending on the federal government. So have you cut the ISAC program, the program to states and locals on cybersecurity?
The president's recommended budget has a reduction in $491 million.
Does it cut that program? I've heard the talking point.
And what it's doing is putting CISA
program
back on mission.
And it's
ensuring
say that
cybersecurity is going to be strengthened.
You cannot say it's the most cybersecure administration if you're cutting the program to my state and to your state.
It will
and if you look on record, that's what you've cut. I yield back.
Let's start with the elephant in the room. Donald Trump won the 2024 election decisively, and he won it on a platform of securing our southern border and ending the invasion that has been happening for the past 4 years under the previous administration. The American people spoke loud and clear that they wanted our immigration laws enforced, our borders secured, and our sovereignty restored. This isn't some fringe position. This is what the majority of Americans voted for. And yet here we have Representative Slotkin acting like enforcing our immigration laws is somehow un-American or unconstitutional. Now, Slotkin starts off by acknowledging that Trump won her state of Michigan and that there's a mandate to do something about the border. But then she immediately pivots to attacking Secretary Noem for supposedly going after American citizens and legal immigrants. But let's break down what's actually happening here, because the devil is in the details and Slotkin is being deliberately misleading. First, let's talk about these so-called American citizens who were allegedly deported. Secretary Noem was very clear in her response that we have not deported any U.S. citizens, period. What she explained is that when parents who are here illegally are being deported, some choose to take their American-born children with them rather than leaving them behind. This is a choice that these parents are making, not the government forcing American citizens out of the country. Think about this logically, patriots. If you're a parent who came here illegally and you're being rightfully deported back to your home country, what are your options? You can either leave your children behind, which would separate the family, or you can take them with you to keep the family together. These parents are choosing to keep their families together, and somehow Slotkin is trying to twist this into the government deporting American citizens. It's intellectually dishonest, and it's exactly the kind of manipulative rhetoric we've come to expect from politicians who oppose enforcing our immigration laws. And let's address this emotional manipulation about children with cancer. Yes, it's tragic when any child has a medical condition, but that doesn't give their parents the right to break our immigration laws. If these parents had come here legally in the first place, or if they had followed the proper procedures to obtain legal status, their children wouldn't be in this situation. The responsibility lies with the parents who chose to break the law, not with the American government for enforcing it. Now, let's talk about these PhD students and master's students that Slotkin is so concerned about. She's trying to paint this picture of innocent academics being targeted for political reasons, but she's completely missing the point. It doesn't matter if you're a PhD student or a day laborer. If you're here illegally, you're here illegally. The law doesn't make exceptions based on your education level or your potential contribution to society. Secretary Noem made an excellent point when she clarified that the Department of State decides who gets student status, and the Department of Homeland Security enforces it. If these students had their visas revoked or if they violated the terms of their student status, then they need to be removed, regardless of their academic achievements. We cannot have a two-tiered system where some people get to break immigration laws because they have advanced degrees while others don't. This is about the rule of law, patriots. Either we're a nation of laws or we're not. Either our immigration system means something or it doesn't. You can't pick and choose which laws to enforce based on your personal feelings about the individuals involved. And let's address Slotkin's ridiculous attack on Secretary Noem regarding habeas corpus. Slotkin is trying to make it sound like the administration is just grabbing people off the street without due process, but that's not what's happening at all. Immigration enforcement involves a legal process. People who are detained for immigration violations have the right to hearings, they have the right to legal representation, and they have the right to appeal adverse decisions. The idea that immigration enforcement is somehow violating habeas corpus is legally and factually incorrect. What really gets me about Slotkin's performance here is the way she's trying to have it both ways. She acknowledges that there's a mandate to secure the border. She admits that people who are here illegally need to be removed, but then she attacks every single action taken to actually accomplish that goal. This is classic swamp behavior. Pay lip service to border security while undermining every effort to achieve it. And notice how she keeps emphasizing her background as a CIA officer, as if that gives her some special authority on this issue. But being a CIA officer doesn't make you an expert on immigration law or domestic enforcement priorities. If anything, someone with her background should understand better than anyone the importance of national sovereignty and the rule of law. The reality is that the previous administration created this mess by refusing to enforce our immigration laws for 4 years. They implemented catch and release policies, they refused to build a wall, they created sanctuary cities that harbored illegal immigrants, and they sent the message to the entire world that our immigration laws were optional. President Trump inherited a crisis, and Secretary Noem is doing exactly what she was appointed to do: clean up the mess and restore order to our immigration system. Now, let's talk about the cybersecurity budget issue that Slotkin raised at the end. She's complaining about cuts to certain programs, but what she's not mentioning is that the Trump administration is focused on eliminating waste and redundancy in government spending. Just because a program has been funded in the past doesn't mean it's effective or necessary. If there are more efficient ways to achieve cybersecurity objectives, then it makes sense to reallocate resources accordingly. The broader point here is that Slotkin and other Democrats are using these budget questions as political weapons rather than engaging in good faith discussions about how to best protect American interests. They're more interested in scoring political points than in actually solving problems. What we're seeing in this hearing is a perfect example of why the American people voted for change in 2024. They're tired of politicians like Slotkin who talk tough on border security during election season, but then attack every effort to actually secure the border once they're in office. They're tired of the double standards, the emotional manipulation, and the deliberate misrepresentation of facts. Secretary Noem, on the other hand, is doing exactly what she was appointed to do. She's enforcing our immigration laws fairly and uniformly. She's not making exceptions based on education level, country of origin, or political considerations. She's treating everyone equally under the law, which is exactly what we should expect from our government officials. The truth is that immigration enforcement is never going to be pretty or comfortable. There are going to be difficult situations and heartbreaking stories. But that doesn't mean we should abandon the rule of law or open our borders to unlimited immigration. Every sovereign nation has the right and the responsibility to control who enters its territory and under what conditions. What Slotkin and other open borders advocates refuse to acknowledge is that their policies have real consequences for American citizens. Every job taken by someone here illegally is a job that could go to an American worker. Every dollar spent on services for illegal immigrants is a dollar that could be spent on American citizens. Every crime committed by someone who shouldn't be here in the first place is a crime that could have been prevented. We cannot continue to prioritize the interests of foreign nationals over the interests of American citizens. We cannot continue to ignore our immigration laws because enforcement might be politically unpopular or emotionally difficult. We have to put America first, and that means securing our borders and enforcing our laws. The American people understood this when they voted in 2024, and they gave President Trump and his administration a clear mandate to restore order to our immigration system. Secretary Noem is carrying out that mandate, and she deserves our support, not the kind of political grandstanding we saw from Representative Slotkin in this hearing. This is exactly why we need channels like America First to cut through the mainstream media spin and tell you what's really happening. The establishment media would have you believe that immigration enforcement is somehow racist or unconstitutional, but that's complete nonsense. What's unconstitutional is refusing to enforce the laws that Congress has passed and that the American people support. So, patriots, I want to hear from you in the comments. What do you think about Slotkin's performance in this hearing? Are you satisfied with the job Secretary Noem is doing in securing our border? And what do you think should be the top priorities for immigration enforcement going forward? Remember to hit that like button if this video helped you understand what's really happening with immigration enforcement, and make sure you're subscribed with notifications turned on so you never miss our latest analysis. And again, if you want to support independent patriotic media that's not afraid to tell the truth, head over to patreon.com/America First, where your support for as little as $5 a month helps us keep bringing you the content the mainstream media won't touch. We're going to keep fighting for America First policies, we're going to keep holding our elected officials accountable, and we're going to keep pushing back against the swamp creatures who want to undermine President Trump's mandate. Thanks for watching, patriots, and I'll see you in the next video where we continue to put America first.